Hello and welcome back to my GTNH playthrough. It is Friday, October 3rd, and we are back in my world. So what I mainly got done today is majority of the Naquadah'd line. As you can see, I was doing my portrait thing again. I like to do when I'm doing these lines, and these three would represent like Naquadah'd dust, Naquadah'd inglet, and then I think it's like Naquadah'd dust or something like that. But that would be the end. We got right up to this point, which would be get us, or I think this might be Naquadah'd dust. Hold on, just go to the quest book and I can say for certain. So, so the next step is separation, which gets us this Naquadah'd rich solution, which then we can turn into Naquadah'd dust, which then can finally go to whichever one we need. But the reason I kind of stopped where I did was, so we got to this point, we got this Naquadah'd adamantium solution, and the next thing you got to do is throw it into this neutron activator, which has this, which I'm not really sure what the kinetic energy thing is. I'll have to read up and figure out on, like, I know what kinetic energy is in general, but like in terms of this game. But also to craft this, need to craft a precise auto assembler. And I didn't see, the rest of this stuff, like the actual recipe in here doesn't seem too bad. But we need to be able to craft this. We need this high computation station Mark II, which we need the Mark 1, which to get that we need elite circuit boards, and we need ASOC chips, which the ASOC chips I'm a little, not like far away from. It's right here. I never finished this line after going to the tier 3 planets. I could get the doped wafer, etc. Like I said, I basically had decided yesterday to either do this line or set up LUV power. I made the wrong choice, clearly. I mean, it's not too big of a deal because I was going to ultimately have to come back and do this anyways. But it looks like I need to do the inefficient Naquadah'd recipe for a little while to get these various wafers specifically, and then craft those two multi-blocks. So I'll probably, next I will set up the LUV power and then beamline those specific multi-blocks to then be able to finish out this line to not be inefficiently using the Naquadah'd. Not usually too worried about inefficiency, but in this case specifically because I hate moving miners with a passion. I want to finish this out so I don't have to do it as often. But for the actual line itself, so I realized yesterday after I stopped recording, I actually forgot to say why I set up that peat bee, which specifically to send mulch into this coke oven, which then will give us biomass and go into this distillery and give us ethanol. And ethanol is part of the first step in the Naquadah'd line. Though I ended up upgrading it to 4 PBs, 4 separate industrial apiaries over there, and 4 peat bees, and it's still not quite fast enough. But I wouldn't have done this at all had I not been a goof about looking in NEI, because if you go to ethanol here, ethanol, we actually could just make it in the large chemical reactors with ethylene and steam, both of which I have just tons of and make constantly passively, so I should have really just done this. And that's what this guy is up here. He's making ethanol. And then also this guy, the reason I went with 2 is there's 2 steps in the process that require ethanol. And even with that one running, like, I didn't want to have it be a situation where the first one has to wait to build up before it starts putting in here, etc. So I just built 2. So both these guys are constantly full with ethanol, and I don't have to even worry about having weird bottlenecks. That just solves it. I am going to put legs under this to make it look a little more visually appealing than instead of just a LCR floating. Down here, these guys are different steps of the line as well. I decided, because I was trying to fit the whole thing into this area, that I was just going to do this LCR spam, which coincidentally, if I'd gone this route to begin with, and actually even with them down below instead of having these multi-blocks, I'm pretty sure it would all fit. So I think the Tronium activator is, yeah, it's only a 5x5, so it's just gonna barely not fit into this one line. And if I hadn't had those multi-blocks, even with those, like, they literally, so that's 7 blocks down there, I would have lost 4, would have had 3 I would have actually had a whole block to spare, which would have given me a little more room to look at these, even though I never will need to. But other notes on this line, so most of it is pretty straightforward. I do have a couple of different, like, level emitters going on. This one specifically is to shut this guy off after my ethanol reaches a certain point of finally being built up. That way I start building up biomass. I don't know if I'll ever need it for anything, but I figure I might as well start building it up just in case. Worst case, if I don't ever use it, it's just one cell down here that's getting extra stuff in it. This guy is to shut off if I ever, for the same reason basically, if ether ever goes over a certain point. But I set this one up first before I realized my goof with the ethanol. This guy is specifically to shut this guy off if my antimony ever drops, because we do use this for a couple recipes, and this is one of the dusts that we don't have on passive, so I don't want this to run. But antimony is recycled throughout this process, so this shouldn't ever really be an issue, but just in case. Especially like if this is running for months, for example, maybe I have an issue later on down the line. And then this last one is basically to shut it off if I don't have enough seed oil, because this is a very fast process. And again, seed oil we use for a few different things over in the B area, so I don't want to spend all my seed oil here, even though we are making seed oil passively. And then the rest is just the recipes straight from the quest book. The one other kind of cool thing, and this is actually because I noticed it in the patch notes for 2.8, this distillery, when I'm distilling the biomass, it gives me out the ethanol, and it also gives me out water. Instead of doing what I've had to do elsewhere with a output hatch into a trash can, you can actually just do these void hatches, and they're extra nifty because if you click on them, or if you read the tooltip, the machine actually won't run until you specify what liquid this is supposed to be voiding, so you're not accidentally voiding stuff. So that was kind of nifty. Yeah, so that was like the bulk of what I did. There was only one side quest I did today, which was, or a little sidetrack I should say, versus side quest, was over here. This is another thing I should have set up a while ago. I noticed when I went to craft, I believe it was input stocking buses, which I forgot to end up using, so it was kind of goofy anyways, was I only had like 13 of these nether quartz left, so I just set up a little thing to passively make me nether quartz, as well as the nether quartz rods, just because these are used for a lot of recipes too, so now I just don't have to wait on them to be crafted, even though these, since I have the multi-block lathe, it wasn't that big of a deal. This is really something I should have set up like months ago. It would have saved me a lot of time, but that's alright. Actually, only just recently have any sort of form of like passive nether quartz dust, and that's because of the rare earth bee. But yeah, like I said, for the weekend, I do want to set up the primary new battery that I showed off yesterday. I didn't mention I had to crafted the next tier of capacitors, so that battery should be huge. Plus, I'll be able to output LUV power to it. And then on top of that, I want to, these are just like a few bees I wanted to craft. The mica is less important now, because another thing I noticed in the notes is with the new processing lines 2.8 adds, you don't actually use mica for all the tiers of coils anymore. But I do want to get this on passive, because this is something else I don't currently have passive, so if I run out of mica, I gotta go set a miner up and yada yada. I want to get the rare earth bee sooner than later. Just, I don't need any of those dusts right now, but this, specifically the rare earth bee, gives us all 3 rare earths as a byproduct, so I want to have those kind of just going, so whenever I do get to them I have plenty of dust. And then the last one is this quantum bee. Specifically, this quantum bee actually was because of this nether quartz, so this one is I probably won't worry about this one for a little while, but these two I do want to get just set up and before they become an issue kind of thing. Like I said, I'll just show real quick. I did set these four up. I set them up separate lines because I noticed if I put them between, they actually kind of behave weird with the queens because of the way the input slot is. Like it's not like setting up all those apiaries where you can just have them all connected together. Like the queens will end up in the wrong slots and then the whole thing will just jam. I did have it on IV, but I had to downgrade it to EV, which is part of why I can't keep up, because it was too much of a power drain on this system. It was pulling out more than the nuclear reactors down there were making. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I am gonna get out of here. No, this one's a little bit shorter, but got a card tournament I'm about to head off to, so I hope everybody has a good weekend. Thank you for watching, and I will be back Monday. Goodbye.